Well, hello everyone. Welcome.
Hello, boys and girls, lads and lassies.
Yep. Tonight we're doing a joint venture stream between PJMaybe and the FFSI channel. We're doing it. So basically, we're streaming live on both channels today, and we're going to be looking back on an old childhood favorite of mine, the Captain Scarlet and the Mysterons, an old Jerry Anderson puppet show, puppet espionage, puppet, sci-fi horror body snatchers. Puppets. Okay. So let's say hello to the chat, everyone. Okay. Hello, Darren Zone and Wendology. Mr. AWK, Jim the Vikings with us.
And Kelly Inch is with us as well. And the thing is, some of the people in the chat you'll not notice each other because you're on two different channels, just so you're aware.
I just spotted Kelly Lynch now, yeah. Kelly Nish, sorry.
That's me. I just say Kelly Inch because I can't spell. I'm from Scotland, I've got no education.
It's not fair. I was trying to work this out, but unfortunately, I think there's only one American angel, and we've got two American angels in chat. It's going to be confusing.
And there's Z3PO.
Z3PO.
This is the voice of the Mysterons. I wish I'd actually got my soundboard working. It would have sounded better.
Yeah, but just to let you chat now, PJMaybe he's got a great soundboard. The problem is when he plugs it in, he goes mute. You can hear the soundboard effects, but not him. Like he can't. It's like if you get one or the other, you never get.
I think it's just one of my settings. I must have messed around with my settings, and I've switched the mic off when I actually plug it in. And I think that's all I've done. Well, so I'm glad I don't work in IT. Oh wait a minute, I do.
Gremlins in the system or Mysterons?
No. It's basically Mysterons. They've wiped my memory. I don't know how to do things. Except kill.
So
when was the first time anybody has seen this?
Well, for me, it must have been 1992, I think. Let's see. Or was it 1993? I'm going to check this, actually. I think it was 1993 because at that time, this was back in the early 90s, it was Alan Yentob was head of serials of the BBC, and like I think he was kind of quite nostalgic for all of the old, cult shows of the 60s and 70s. So he was a big fan of Doctor Who, big fan of the old puppet shows, and he kind of really wanted to, recreate the popularity again. And so he would kind of, I do remember like Thunderbirds was repeated in the early 90s, and it was almost like it was a real resurgence of popularity of the show. And that was a success. And then they did Stingray, and then they did Captain Scarlet, and so that was must have been. So this is like I'm not, I grew up in the 90s. I was, so I would never have seen it at the time it first came out. So I was kind of part of that generation of 90s young kids who watched the show and were kind of.
I think I'm very similar to you, but I saw it a lot earlier. I remember seeing it. It's probably I was a teenager, early teens, so it would have been mid to late 70s. I would have seen it. Saturday mornings, more likely. It would have been because I remember Stingray, Thunderbirds, Thundercats, stuff like that. I remember all those from when I was sitting in front of the TV as a teenager. Saturday mornings, so I think that's when I would have seen it. It was either that or it was 6 o'clock BBC Two or ITV, one of the two, because the 6 o'clock used to be the parents get stuff after 7, so it was all the soaps, and before that it was all the early morning day soaps. So when you came in from school between 5:30 and 6:30, there was stuff on, and I think this is maybe one of the ones that was on at 6 o'clock. So that's when I remember it from my early teens.
Over here was broadcast. They started repeating it on 1st of October 1993. I just started high school at that time. No, the first episode I watched a few weeks in, it was the episode Big Ben Strikes Again was the one I watched.
Yeah.
So
I must admit, I never saw the very first episode until quite recently.
Okay.
Because I always remember Captain Scarlet and Indestructible did it, but I never understood. Well, I knew him and Captain Black, something happened to them, but because I never really saw the first episode, I didn't really understand what was. I thought the two of them were colleagues, and the two of them got taken over, but Captain Scarlet got away from it, and he's trying to. Captain Black, he's trying to rescue him, but that was my kid's head putting all that together because I hadn't seen the first episode.
Yeah.
But it just goes to show the difference when you actually watch the first episode. So,
yeah. Colin, Alex, you got any memories of first time watching the show?
I started watching this back in 2001. I was very aware of it at an early age, but I never, saw it on video or anything like that. Because when my older brother had tapes of Thunderbirds, he never was into Captain Scarlet. So it was later on when I first, got into Captain Scarlet, and then I started learning more about the Jerry Anderson stuff afterwards.
Probably when it wasn't a repeat.
Well, back in '67.
That old.
Oh,
I don't quite. Let's put it this way. I was around and watching TV in 1967.
Yeah.
So, yeah, quite possibly. I honestly can't remember.
I was 2, so I missed it.
But I was a wee bit older than that, and yeah, I may well have watched it when it came out, or possibly one of the relatively older one later repeats, because by the time some of you guys came along, I was in my 20s or 30s, so it was well past watching kids' TV, and by that time it was much loved kids' TV rather than something to watch as a kid.
Right. Well, let's get into the devil of the details. So now, I mean, well, actually, first of all, I think it could only be like. I think it had the advantage of being back then. It was before you got the age of streaming, because, like, I think you could make Thunderbirds a popular show again in the '90s by rerunning it, and kids would watch it. There'd be an anticipation for next week. Now that you got streaming, I don't think you can create that again.
No.
Although, I think people are getting, I suppose. Well, I don't say people, because a lot of people watch the stuff as it comes out, then they binge it. But I think a lot of broadcasters now are realising the binge model doesn't work. So a lot of streamers are starting to put things out weekly, and then once it's completed, they leave it on so you can binge it. So I think that model's coming back because they realise nobody. If they just put it all out, people don't talk about it after the first couple of days, and then it's forgotten. So whereas they're starting to realise if they start putting it out weekly, there's a lot of buzz around it every week.
Yeah, but I'm talking about if you're going to rerun something old that it's already out.
Yes, I suppose because we've all got DVDs or whatever of the sets. But I think kids could get into it as even if it's not every week, maybe every day. There's only a day to wait.
Maybe, but I think it's the anticipation. I think the longer the anticipation, the more there's the interest.
Yeah. I suppose we're just old enough to actually appreciate the anticipation.
Well,
whereas the modern audience, it's a case of they want it all and they want it now.
Yeah.
I'm as guilty as anyone there, though. I mean, I kind of, when I can binge watch shows, I just don't get into anything new, and I kind of just I look back in the days when I did get into shows, and it was because it was weekly, because you weren't giving it all the goods right away. You had to wait, for what was next. And
oh yes, the anticipation was always great, but I suppose I'm bad for it now because I do watch a lot of classics. I binge everything now because all my DVDs, I just put it on and just watch every single episode. Sometimes I'll break it up with maybe a movie or something, but there's nothing new that I look forward to. So there's a lot of people talking about The Last of Us. I just don't care enough to even actually watch it weekly, even if people are telling me it's good. Because I think it's a case of I would wait until it's completed, because there's going to be a season or two where they're going to change it and it's going to go downhill, and I just don't see the point in watching something, because the anticipation is being taken away from us. Because what do we anticipate? We anticipate it's going to get woke, so we actually go nope.
Yeah.
So I think the anticipation is gone for me for new stuff, but I did appreciate it at the time.
Fair enough. So, we should probably start at the beginning with the first contact. The moment when Spectrum, which will be fighting the Mysterons, will be protecting Earth from Mysterons, actually starts the war in the first place with the Mysterons.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I've always thought, I remember watching it, and I always thought the Mysterons were the bad guys, when I realised they're not.
Oh, they are. I think
no, they're not, because they are in effect for them, they were the ones that were attacked, a preemptive attack by this race that just attacked them. So they're getting their own back, and they did say that's the way to do it.
No. The heroes of the show are supposed to be the better people. So the Mysterons aren't. They're kind of, we're just going to wipe you all out. We're going to come. Okay.
I do appreciate that's the way, but in effect, based on the first part of the first episode, the Mysterons aren't the baddies. The Mysterons are just somebody who got attacked and went, "Oh, really? Your whole race is getting wiped because we're superior and you attacked us."
Yeah, that's what I no, I said they're the victims. Speak said it's a misunderstanding. They're the victims. Someone sees something they don't understand, they panic. And it's sort of war, but they massive. But especially when we consider that, when we can find that, okay, they can literally press the reset button and put everything back the way it was. They massively overreact.
But then again, so did Captain Black, because they saw something point to them. Instead of actually just taking that out, what did they do? They underestimated the whole city.
Yeah, I'm not saying they were right. So what I said, it was a misjudgment, and it was absolutely Captain Black's fault. But the Mysterons massively overreacted to that.
But that's what I'm saying. They overreacted to Captain Black's overreaction, because he did the same. He saw something pointing him. Instead of firing a missile out, take it out, he destroyed their whole city. Just because they could rebuild it, doesn't make any difference. Just because I'm Captain Black and I'm a Mysteron spy, doesn't mean I'm actually being a devil's advocate. Under no circumstances.
Let's put it in terms.
That looks like a gun. That looks like
it
a gun.
Does. I know denying that. But instead of actually taking a missile to take that out, they destroyed the whole city.
Well, I don't think they expected the city to be destroyed with that one shot, but they did. But I would say, if you really want to put it in a sort of a context, modern day context, the Mysterons decided to wipe out all of humanity for Captain Black's mistake.
Mm-hmm.
A little bit like these days, if someone says something you don't understand, you try to cancel her entire life. Something you don't like, you try to make a mistake, you try to cancel her entire life and stop anybody buying her games. Massive overreaction.
But I sound as if I'm a Mysteron spy. I'm honestly not. What I'm saying
apologies, yes.
the thing is, Captain Black overreacted the same way. The only
Yeah, oh,
difference is he didn't know if that was the only settlement. He completely destroyed it just because he thought something was pointing him rather than taking it out. So that's what I'm saying. So that could have been, as far as they could have been aware, that could have been the only settlement, and he wiped it just because they could rebuild it. And then they've decided that if they do that just because we're trying to make contact with them, then the whole species says bye bye.
Yeah, well, I'm not disagreeing with
No,
that.
you
What
can't
I'm-
condemn a whole species because of one mistake.
Yeah.
We
are the Mysterons.
Yes, we can.
Well, yeah, you could do, but it doesn't make you the good guys.
PJ,
Yeah,
if you're in that vehicle, and you have that pointed at you, what would you press the button? I think you would.
Would I press the button to take the gun out? Yes, no denying it. Would I press the button to destroy the whole city? No, I don't think so. And that's the difference. It's basically, you can say the Mysterons are overreacting, but they're just following the example of the 3 humans in front of them. They completely destroyed a city when, as far as the Mysterons know, we were just pointing a recording device at them.
Yeah, but they're absolutely, and they are indeed reacting. And that part of their reaction, I think, is perfectly justified, perfectly understandable, and under the circumstances, justified. But they are then going on.
Understands it.
Yeah, no, well, we're not saying that's right. What we're saying is that the Mysterons were perfectly justified in taking out Captain Black and the Spectrum crew, but they then went on and condemned the entire race because of what one member of that race did.
No,
that's
just because we know
they're all about
that side of it. As far as they know, that is what the race does. So why not?
Well, hang on. Aren't the Mysterons supposed to be omnipotent to a degree? So they should probably know it was a misunderstanding.
Well, the Mysterons are supposed to be peaceful people, really, but you know.
Yeah, what I'm saying is exactly what they're doing is they are assuming that the entire of humanity, the entire however many billions it is on the Earth and 19 whatever it is, are exactly the same as Captain Black. That's what I'm saying is that's where their overreaction is. They're not taking into account that, hold a minute, this might have been a mistake by this one. Maybe we should wait and see.
Well, that's the thing. Yeah, they go on to kill innocent people who weren't even part of that expedition.
Yes. But I'm looking at it from their side. Peaceful people try to make contact and the whole city gets destroyed. So they've decided, well, no, we're not getting in contact. That whole race must be barbarians. And we're not taking the chances of getting attacked again. So we're going to wipe them out.
Wipe them out?
Yes.
Why wipe them out? Well, you got the superior technology to just survive and out. You know, if they're not really a threat,
you're not native to Mars anyway. I mean,
neither is humans, but it didn't actually stop them. So they've obviously got some technology.
Yeah, but
they could eventually come out to the planet we're on. Just because we've got superior technology doesn't mean we've got superior numbers and superior tactical skills, which we can see in episode 1. They have got 0 tactical skills. Well, you look at the very first episode, right? What was the plot of it?
Well,
after the incident, what was the plot? Mysteron's plot. What was their idea?
Well, it was actually. This is kind of going to be covered later. It's like now what they were going for was.
We'll go through it, and when we get to the point I'm actually talking about,
basically they wanted to chop the head off of Earth government. So
the point was to put humanity to the test, see if they could stop them. And
can I just read a line what the Mysterons said in the episodes, the beginning part?
Go on, yeah.
Earthmen, we are peaceful beings and you have tried to destroy us, but you cannot succeed. You and your people will pay for your act of aggression. This
the
is the
Vengeance.
voice of the This is the voice of the Mysterons. We know that you can hear us, Earthmen. Our retaliation will be slow, but nothing less effective. It will mean the ultimate destruction of life on Earth. It will be useless for you to resist, as we have discovered the secret of reversing matter, as you have just witnessed.
Now,
Yeah, not
no
exactly
one can
peaceful.
be. Well, that's the thing. That their end game isn't to just one swoop and defeat it. It's to break down our society by, well, basically doing what terrorists do. They undermine trust in the government.
Yeah.
Create a climate of fear and paranoia, which the Mysterons can do because you never know who's a Mysteron, who's not. And it's basically it's all a power grab. It's all kind of it's a show of we're more powerful than you. We're just toying with you, but we're going to kind of bring your society down.
Yeah, and you can see that the Mysterons are not versed in warfare because they tell them every week what they're going to do.
That's the point. It's a war of nerve. It's a it's a power play.
But it also shows that the Mysterons have got zero tactical ability and zero.
Why?
Use their technology to try and win, but they turn around and say, "Oh, by the way, we're going to shoot him, and then we're going to actually try and do things to shoot him. You have to stop us." But the
point is they're saying, but that's the point. As it goes on, Spectrum puts all the defenses in, all the protection, and the Mysterons are saying, "Yeah, you can do that. We're still going to wait through your defenses. We're showing you how powerless you are."
Yeah.
Yeah, but also they actually change their mind halfway through it.
No, they don't.
Yes, they do. What was the first thing that happened to Captain Brown? What did he do?
He started smoking.
Yes, and then what was the end goal of that situation?
Well, the building blew up.
But who was he aiming at?
The world president.
Well, president.
Right, and then the next part, Captain Black has decided that they need the world president, so they're not going to kill him. But prior to that, Captain Brown is in a car with him on his Todd.
Yeah.
They not killed him there. So they have him.
That's
they
what
don't
I'm
kill
saying.
him. They go into the building, they try and blow it up with him in it. He gets away, and then they decide they need to capture him. So they've got no tactical ability. They basically change their mind as and when.
Yeah, but if Captain Brown had killed him in the first instance, it wouldn't have been much of an episode, would it?
No,
of course not. But what we're talking about is the way.
Yeah,
I think the way Jerry Anderson built this. Jerry Anderson is smart when he built it. Is that you can see both sides to an extent. They basically are basically no knowledge of warfare, so they've decided we're going to actually whittle you down until you are nothing less. But we don't know how to do it, so we're going to constantly tell you what we're doing, and then we're going to change our mind halfway through because we're going to kill the world president. Right, he's in a car with me. What will I do? Nothing. And then as soon as we sit down, I'll start smoking to explode so he can get away. But then when you catch him again, you decide that you need him alive.
I know, but the thing is, what I saw of that is that Spectrum security was really high up.
Yes,
so he
couldn't alone with Brown.
Yeah,
Captain
but he
Brown.
couldn't. Yeah, but who was driving the car? It's just the thing is, it's just he don't want to make his move just yet. And where they were together in an underground, under the building, that's when. Wait a minute, I'll get him. Yeah,
it's just that the aspects of it is, to me, it showed they've got zero tactical knowledge, so they don't know how to wage war. So they're doing it their own way, and they know it's going to take a lot of time because they have to learn as they go along. They're relearning what the human know, which they showed straight off, that they just looked and then, let's destroy the city. Boom. So they're actually looking at an aggressive race and actually trying to destroy them, but they don't know how, so they're having to build it up. That's what I'm saying. Jerry Anderson built it in such a way that you can look at one side and go, maybe they're right. He obviously wrote it for the entertainment value. We're not denying that he thought this all through, but I think the way it works, from the first episode, it actually can be seen different ways.
Yeah.
Right. Here's an interesting thing, though. It's the very first. It's the very brief time we actually see Captain Black before he became a Mysteron agent. Like, because he's in the Martian rover, and it does sound like the Mysterons actually let the people in the Earthship, then the Martian rover, said, "You can go home, but one of you is going to be our agent. So you can go home, and one of you is our ace in the hole." And it's like, so we briefly see Captain Black before he changes.
Yeah.
And what happens to Captain Black? Because it's like, is he? And now my feeling is he's been indoctrinated completely. He's been completely brainwashed. Like, he's not a Mysteron. He's not just a zombie puppet of a Mysteron intelligence. He's completely devoted to their cause. Because like there's a scene in Manhunt when the Mysterons have to warn him that there's a roadblock ahead. They go, Captain Black, turn, avoid the Spectrum roadblock ahead. So they're basically, you're kind of being told that this is someone who can make choices. The Mysterons have to suggest to him what to do. So he's an agent, but he's not so how has he been brainwashed?
I think it's interesting. It seems all the way through that it's almost like I don't know what the best way to put it is. I mean, it's almost like, in a way, like the Mysterons are a Gould, in as much as they control when they want to, but all the memories are still there. The personality, to a large degree, sort of the memories and the mindset is still there when they recreate the agent. So they've still got their own knowledge, their own motivation, their own agency.
Yeah.
But they've got an underlying.
See, I also remember.
Maybe, in fact, come to think of it, perhaps a slightly better one would be it's the Mysteron's laws of robotics.
Yeah.
There's an underlying.
Exactly. So what they basically said, because what they said is they destroyed to remake. So effectively, they killed Captain Black, and then they rebuilt him, and they rebuilt him with the loyalties to them.
Well, that's never said, though. It's like by all accounts, it seems like Captain Black's still alive. It's just he's completely possessed he's completely brainwashed. He's just.
No, see, I took it. The fact is, later on they said they had to destroy to recreate.
Yeah,
they killed Captain Brown and
we
Captain Scarlet, but Captain Scarlet got away from them based on the fact that he, I would say, hit his head, because that was the only bandage you saw. So that's actually caused the trip in his brain. So they have completely rebuilt him and actually changed his loyalties.
Well, could it be that they've, with the Captain Scarlet thing, I mean, could it be that they've actually, it's almost like, spiritually speaking, I suppose most of his here are atheists, but there is the belief that, when your body dies, your spirit leaves the body, and if you can be resuscitated, your spirit returns to the body. So is it possibly that he died, he was reanimated, the Mysterons control the body, when he was no use to them anymore, Captain Scarlet's spirit re-entered the new body?
No, I don't. I wouldn't see it that way, because, as I said, I mean, it's. I see what you're saying, but I think it's a case of I thought it's been a little while since I started rewatching the series, but I thought they blew the MEV up anyway. So, but I thought they blew the MEV up anyway. So by implication, Captain Black was killed and then retromobilized or whatever.
No, they didn't blow up we didn't see the ship blown up. But now there is a line where they say that the ship returned and Captain Black went missing.
I thought they said the three of them went missing when they.
No, Captain Black went missing.
Only Captain Black, no. So I get the sense that they were all allowed back home. but Captain Black was their agent now. He was completely indoctrinated to the Mysteron cause. And it's like, that's the cruelest punishment for the guy who ordered gave the kill order. It's like, well, now you're going to help us kill your species.
Yeah, but then again, I mean, it doesn't explain. I mean, the other thing is, of course, that don't forget that Captain Scarlet, once he threw off the Mysteron influence, he could sense Mysterons. He could sense a Mysteron agent, and he sensed Captain Black at times. I'm sure he did. So, because there was one where, Manhunt again, I think was one where he deliberately, for starters, Captain Black Captain Black deliberately dosed himself with radiation, which should have been lethal. But all it did was hid him from Captain Scarlet. So he must have been have had some form of Mysteronization, if you like.
Oh no, I don't see. I think I don't think he got a lethal dose. I think it was and I think it was an accident anyway. I think he went in, he was exposed enough that it left a residue, which meant they could track him down. And he got away he kidnapped Symphony Angel and he put her in the reactor so that she gave off his radiation signature, but she was fine.
Oh yeah, this is true. Yeah, you got a point in there. Yeah, yeah.
It was the one you think,
that one.
But what you said about the Captain Scarlet's ability to sense Mysterons, it is in Winged Assassin when that big that aircraft carrier arrives and it's basically controlled by the Mysterons. That's when he feels ill. He's like, I don't know what's wrong. I feel ill.
Yeah, in fact, it's anything that's Mysteron influence. It's not just people, isn't it?
Yeah.
Now
because they destroyed the aircraft with the 2 pilots in it.
They killed the entire aircraft.
And then the aircraft replicated with the 2 pilots.
PJ, do you think that was justified? Killing an entire aircraft?
Based on the fact that they have decided that this aggressive race is actually a warlike race. We'll use our technology to destroy the race. So it doesn't matter if they kill 15 people to get to the one they want. They're saying they're going to wipe out the whole race. So does it matter if 2 innocent people die? Because they're going to wipe out the whole race.
Yeah, but
so
can you justify that though?
Yes, you can. If you basically right, okay, you've got a beehive in your garden, but that one bee just goes around the flowers, doesn't bother anybody. But you're going to destroy the beehive. If it's in there, are you going to go? Nah, well, no. It's basically they've already said they're going to destroy your race. So does it matter to them if they take out people here and there? From taking out the whole race.
From that point of view, I would say that from their point of view, if that's the way they're looking at it, there are no such thing as innocent humans.
Yes, exactly.
The innocent is our perspective, not the Mysteron's perspective.
So yes, from my point of view, yeah, they can't. They're basically killing people left, right, and centre because for no reason. However, from the Mysteron's point of view, they are destroying the whole human race. So any human, there's no such thing as an innocent human.
Which I said it, which is why I think that's why I said I call it a massive overreaction, because they're automatically assuming that every human being is.
Yes, they're automatically assuming the whole race is aggressive. So they're going to make
seriously racist in the literal meaning of the word.
But yeah, they're effectively saying that every human is aggressive. So wiping them out doesn't matter if they kill them one at a time or 10,000 at a time. Doesn't matter if actually kids get killed. They're all going anyway. That's like saying we're going to fire a missile at your city, but we're going to make it target just the military part. Even though your military personnel might be sitting here, there, but all the people around them, no problem, will not try and touch them. They're just saying, well, we're going to destroy your city. End of story. It doesn't matter who's in it.
Yeah.
Like, put it this way, Japan, Hiroshima.
No, that's different.
But basically, that was innocent civilians they destroyed. Bomber Harris leveled so many cities which didn't have military it was all to do with morale. So humans do it.
Yep. But there was a reason to do that because of the Japanese fighters. They were suicidal. They attacked, like, they look at what they did
Yes.
to
So
Nanking.
what's that got to do with the citizens in the town?
It was
Well, no, you
done
said it
in
yourself.
order
You had to
to
break the
break
morale
lots
of
of life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the Mysterons killing people, does it matter? It's just going to break morale.
Yeah, but the Americans weren't trying to kill every Japanese. They were They were just trying to defeat the Japanese government.
Yes, but what I'm saying is you can try to defeat the Japanese government by bombing 2 cities of civilians.
Yeah,
To
but
me,
if that's going to make them surrender, rather than you having to fight every inch of the way.
You hope that's going to make them surrender.
Of course, you hope.
It could have made them dig in worse. You look
Yeah, it
at
could have
the
done, but
Germans, the Blitzkrieg from the Germans in London. That didn't make them surrender. That basically made them dig in more.
Yeah, but I mean, it's a decision you have to make. But what I think we're saying is that the comparison isn't quite the same. In that the comparison, whatever the Mysterons are doing, their end game is to destroy all life on Earth, whereas the end game of
America.
Make them surrender, not wipe them all out.
Well, on that note, let's talk about what the power of the Mysterons is, because like we get an idea of how powerful the Mysterons are to a degree.
Yes.
So now, what are the Mysterons? Now, I've written these notes. I've written that the Mysterons are like a collective Gestalt entity, a bit like Legion in Red Dwarf. That just combined intelligence of all these various different minds.
Yeah, but you assume that because they just say this is the voice of the Mysterons, that could just be the voice, whereas
No, we never see them physically, so that suggests that they are a collective intelligence. That they are kind of an entity. They're not physical. They're almost kind of spiritual beings, almost.
I think they are what these days we would probably term energy beings rather than physical. But I don't. I mean, the problem I have with that idea. I see where you're coming from, but if they were a collective intelligence who saw themselves as one entity, why would they refer to themselves in the plural?
Well, I mean,
you would refer to them as if we did that, for example, we'd be the human race is the collective entity. The Mysteron will be one entity, I think. But I know what you're saying. It's something that's never actually defined. But I think
the thing is, I think because you never see them and you just, as I said, we only hear their voices over the radio. Anything we could put forward, they could be.
Well, I mean, look at the city itself. It looks almost like it's a mirage. Like you're never quite sure it's physically there or not. It's just it has that kind of eerie, kind of blurry glow to it. It doesn't. It's kind of almost indefinite, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, but they go into don't they go into a Mysteron city
on the moon?
Yeah, there's a couple of them. So they're actually they've obviously got some sort of physicality. I mean, maybe they're a machine intelligence, a sentient AI.
They could be, but the thing is, the way it's actually done is it leaves it wide open because they could be pure energy. They could be a collective. They could be robotic entities. They could be just this is the government is dealing with it, and the people, the Mysteron people just don't know what's happening because they're not brought forward. It's only the people, the military might, as it were, two people sitting in a desk and they've been sitting there for 100 years because there's no war. They don't know what war is, and then suddenly, bang! Right, used to get in there. Yous are meant to be the security, huh? But nobody commits a crime. We don't know how to do the job, right? So we're the voice of the Mysterons. And
something else said that Jerry Anderson seems to be a bit of a fan of is the mysterious enemy that you don't know how they know what they know. Prime example for that being the aliens in UFO. We have no idea how the aliens know so much about us. We have no idea how the Mysterons know that if they make this vehicle crash, they're going to kill them. And then 3 days later, this guy happens to be working at a power station or whatever. You know, how do they know to target someone who's a critical worker here or there? You know,
they've decided to take a closer look at us. Like, I mean, in every single week, like the point is, like, you see the the yellow circles. Yeah, and it's like it's basically where every week you're kind of told they're watching us, they're studying us.
Yeah,
they're kind of lining up their exactly. That is actually quite chilling, actually. We know that you can, and that's the thing. Like 32 weeks of that opener, it's still effective. Like, because that voice is just so pitiless. It's just
see if it wasn't so good and so well done, would we be arguing about the motivations behind it?
No, exactly. We wouldn't.
Exactly. It's so good that you can actually take a point. Me, right, I love Captain Scarlet because I have got a Captain Scarlet figure, and a Captain Scarlet car is on my wish list. I know somebody's got an Angel vehicle, and I'm jealous as hell. However, the fact is,
I hope you feed her. Poor girl.
It's just very harmony.
So basically, PJ, you're saying you've got all the villains. Captain Scarlet and Spectrum.
But the thing is, I like it that much that my favourite character, except Scarlet, is Captain Black. Because to me, if you look at it just from the Mysterons' point of view and just assume they are so innocent, they just see these barbarians at the door and they think if we actually leave these, eventually they're going to come back. They've decided, listen, just wipe them out. They're going to cause so much. So you can, and that's why I enjoy Captain Scarlet so much, because you can actually take one side and look at it and just follow that one side and make your own headcanon on what's behind it. Same as you could actually take Spectrum and actually say, well, it's a military organisation or a militarist organisation, not technically military, but the security they deal with, so it's bigger than the army, they deal with across the whole globe.
Well, you need that.
Yes, but what I'm saying is, if you look at the ones that actually blew up your city, they're in control of everything. They're the security for everything. Yeah, and then the whole human race actually approves of this. So,
but PJ, what if the Spectrum? What if the guys in the Range Rover were right? The Mysterons were just malevolent from the start. They were just after destroying. Then Spectrum is necessary, just in case a situation where
you could turn around and say then. So nuclear weapons are necessary.
Yeah. Well,
so are they necessary, or is it just a case of we're just stockpiling them because we don't want to use them? And it's human nature. So they're basically saying human nature. And it's the human nature that actually goes down that aggressive route. So it might be necessary to actually destroy a city just because you think there's a gun pointing at us. It's that aspect of it. What I'm saying is, take it from the other side. You've got a peaceful place, it's actually pointing a camera at you, and you destroy the whole city for the person that's pointing a camera at you. That'd be like actually me going, oh, there's a helicopter up there, and take a photo of it, and somebody says, oh, it looks like a gun, to blow up that town.
For a weather balloon.
Do you see what I mean? Eh? I missed that. I missed that. Say it again.
Weather balloon.
A weather balloon.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's the fact is, so if I'm taking a photo of someone and they go, "Oh, that looks like a gun," let's destroy the whole city. I could understand if they had actually fired at the camera thinking it was a gun, but they didn't. So if you say, right, we just took a picture of them and they destroyed us. So to me, the whole military would be suspect. So just take them all out. See, but what about the secretary who works for him? He works for the military. The military is that side. So they're saying the humans is doing this, and they thought, oh well, that's what the humans are like.
Right? Can I just?
I think I'll up.
Listen, you agreed that I was Captain Black, the Mysteron spy, so I'll see. I'll back them up.
Can I just bring something up about the Mysterons and that camera that looks like a gun?
Mm-hmm.
I wonder who was the idiot Mysteron saying, "Yeah, I'm going to design this camera, but it looks like a gun."
No, but there you're already assuming they know what weapons are.
Yeah, but
no, you're assuming they know what weapons are. They may not have had any knowledge of weapons, so a camera is a camera to them just because.
Have you ever?
I'm just saying, what type of idiot Mysteron would design?
How many episodes
are there? How could you say somebody who designs a camera that looks like a gun who's never seen a gun? How can you say that?
Because it didn't actually. Because a Mysteron gun probably looks different to an Earth gun. That's the whole point.
But that's what I'm saying. You're assuming Mysterons had guns. What I'm saying is, if they're a peaceful people and they've got no weapons, how could they actually design something that looks like something they've never seen?
They're not peaceful people.
No. Have you not seen a telescope? A telescope looks exactly like the barrel of a gun.
Good point. Or a rocket launcher.
Yeah. But I mean, the thing is, I mean, in answer to Peter's question there, that some of this, there's always, not at the time, but looking back on it, does make me think is, what was Spectrum's purpose before the Mysterons came along?
Yeah, that's good.
Because all of a sudden they're in place, and all of a sudden, I'm not trying to sound modern day conspiracy theory, but you've got this organisation which is international, which is a worldwide, some sort of police organisation.
Mm-hmm. Well,
what was their purpose before there were the Mysterons to fight against?
I presume there was a with the world president, you need a world security force just in case there's any just any threats. I mean, there's always going to be threats to national security. We couldn't do without MI5, could we?
Mm-hmm.
And more, especially now we've got we got problems with terrorism in the real world.
Oh yeah.
So we need security services to deal with them. I mean, there's always going to be that that back and forth of
But one man's terrorist is another man's freedom fighter. It's all how you look at it.
No.
The Mysterons.
You can't have, if you're part of security, you can't have that black and white view. You've got to be like, your loyalty has to be, I've got to protect my people, regardless of whether they're a terrorist or freedom fighter. They're a threat. And
the Mysterons have actually said they're a threat, so let's get rid of them all.
I'm surprised Mysterons didn't take hijack a nuclear missile from Earth and start to destroy Earth with it. Really?
Oh, I'm surprised you send a flipping asteroid to take us out. When the easiest way to do it, they certainly have the technology to do it.
Yeah.
If you're actually going to look back and look on it as purely a purely within the logic rather than the fact that it's a TV series.
I just want to bring up there's one episode, right, of Captain Scarlet where a missile was launched from a missile base.
Yeah.
And they had Captain Scarlet and Captain Blue had to go through this password book to get to the end, but in the end, the Angels took out the guy and the device activated and self-destruct the missile. And Colonel White turned around and said, "Well, you was a long way off."
So but we can assume for the simple fact is it's missiles. It's not necessarily nuclear warheads.
No.
So
And,
you can assume based on the fact is they've got a worldwide police force. They've got a central government and there's no nukes. So you can actually just assume that. So taking control of nuclear weapons is you can actually just say, well, they've never mentioned it in the whole of the program, so maybe they just don't exist in this world.
maybe.
Right. What I've written anyway is so they can reanimate destroyed matter. They can influence smaller accidents on Earth, so they can cause like a train to go off the rails and reanimate the train, reanimate the passengers. Reconstruct in their own form. Now, it's possible there's a limit on how many times the Mysterons can do this because they can only do this once a week, it seems. And that might be because of the distance of Mars from Earth, or maybe it's just that there's only so many times they can use that particular ray, or it's possible the Mysterons are far more powerful than they're letting on. They could wipe us out any moment, but they're just toying with us for now.
Or they could wipe it out, but they don't know how to use warfare. They don't know warfare. They don't know tactics. They're working their way through it.
They're waging psychological warfare primarily.
Yeah. They call it
initially,
war.
yes, but they're actually trying to. In effect, they're turning around and saying, "Right, we're going to destroy you. So we're going to kill your leader first." It's, to me, if you were tactically minded, you would just kill him. So and bring your bring it down bit by bit. So if they didn't give the warnings, then Spectrum wouldn't be on high alert. So
but that's the point.
Just walk in and go bang.
No, that's the point. That's the point. Get Spectrum on high alert. Get them to be for maximum security. Then strike and say, you know what? You beat up your security. It wasn't enough. We can still strike at you.
I mean,
that's the psychology of it. It's the no defense is enough.
Yes, but I'm thinking from
it's
the
one of the few.
What if they're completely alien to war and having to learn? So they're just doing it the way they are, and we're assuming that it's psychological. They basically just don't know.
Yeah, we've only got the.
We're going to take down your government first, then we're going to work our way through, and they just don't know. So they're basically telling them, yes, it might be psychological, but they might just actually think this is the way it's done. Because we don't want them to actually say, but you attacked us without telling us like we attacked you. So maybe they tell them just so you can't say we're just like you.
Well, but we've only got the Mysterons' word that they're peaceful. For starters, I mean, they said they said they were, but we don't know anything about them. But the thing is,
they did show you the pre-attack, and they were basically trying. Oh, there's and let's communicate with them. They didn't automatically say, "Oh,
it doesn't necessarily mean
let's destroy them." So we saw it before it. So it's not like, for instance, it's somebody saying, but that was only a camera. They were just wanting to actually. They just.
But if they're that peaceful, why they do that? If they're that peaceful, why have they got the weapons that can destroy these things in the first place? But the thing is, you say about them, Sonaka, you say about them. Oh, sorry, PJ, you're saying about them warning. But this is one of the very few shows I can remember where the good guys didn't always win. They won. Correct. Yeah, they won the major ones. Yeah, they saved the world president. They saved Los Angeles, but they didn't win every week. The Mysterons got their own victories.
But you're telling us the good guys never win every week because sometimes Spectrum won.
Okay, fine, the other way around then. But the point is that we're supposed to be told from Spectrum's point of view, but the Mysterons. The Mysterons won, even though they're given cryptic warnings. Sometimes they won.
Well, I'm saying you look at it from our society has got no concept of war. You basically just attacked them without warning. So we think that is bad. So what are we going to do? Make sure you can't say we're bad. So we'll give you a warning what we're going to do every time. So you can't say, but you attacked us the same as we attacked you. So it could be, I'm just saying the naivety could be why they constantly give the warnings.
It could be, yeah. I mean, but like I said, I mean, if they could take these people who've never done war, where did they get the weapons that were going to actually
I'm just
wipe
laughing
everyone
at
out
the
anyway?
idea. Am I going to have to go over?
Oh, come on, Wendy, you know what these streams are like.
I know.
It could be worse.
They put me down as the
Jim's not in
Mysteron spy. I'm actually the devil's advocate here.
So you admit these Mysterons are satanic then?
No, I'm just saying I'm the devil's advocate. So basically, I'm taking it from the Mysterons' point of view. And if
The
the
bad
Mysterons
guys
see themselves as the good guys, and usually the bad guys, then I can justify anything we do.
So
I'm just a random guy who died me every week.
So you want us? So basically, what you're saying is you're challenging us whether or not we should actually canonize the Mysterons. Okay.
I think we should probably acknowledge them with the chat, or we probably ignore the chat a bit too long. Peter Harrington.
Well, basically, I'm going to have a word with that Roman of the Empire. He's in the
but it's
FFSI
Roman.
chat.
He does know what year it is. So
PJMaybe chat. I'll have a word with him on Saturday.
Order. All right, okay. Peter Harrington. Peter Harrington has made a good point here. Are the Mysterons studying the Earth? So basically, saying is the is the Mysterons game partly study human behavior, how they react to each threat?
Mm-hmm.
So it's like
are they studying it to actually work out how to do this war thing you talk about? Or
no. What he's saying is,
I know.
Our aim game is to destroy humanity, but let's not just destroy them and learn nothing.
Yes,
once they're gone, we can learn nothing.
Be a case of let's study them and learn their ways to use against them.
Yeah.
So yes, I'm agreeing with them, but from the Mysterons' point of view, see, if I had my soundboard working, it would have actually been better because I could have actually put the Mysterons in at every point I needed to. I'll work that out. But what I'm saying is, if you see it from the Mysterons' point of view, maybe they're studying humanity to learn this war thing that yous actually, this aggression that yous have.
All right.
That's all I'm saying is, so you can. I'm actually basing this argument on the fact is I just decided to do it as we went live. I hadn't planned this.
Can I just say something?
Decided to be a.
Yes, exactly.
Can I just say something?
Sure.
Can I honestly say something? At least the Mysterons don't have a legal team. Otherwise, we wouldn't stand up in the court of law.
PJ could be the
You can actually just kill one of the lawyers and take him. He'll stand up in the court of law. And the judge.
Actually,
and the jury.
Actually, it's a good thing, Mr. AWK, you spoke up. You've got some background on the guy who does the voice of the Mysterons, haven't you?
Yes, Donald. He was the voice of Colonel White.
Yep.
Yeah, Donald Gray.
Yeah, Donald Gray.
And that's the thing. You would not think this was the same guy. It's just the voice work he does as the Mysteron is brilliant. It's chilling. Like
yeah, I don't think a day when he done that voice.
Oh right.
Every so often you can hear. I think every so often, even with the voice modulation, you can actually hear that it's the same guy.
Yeah.
It sounds like he was born to do that voice. That voice just has no pity. It's just chilling. It's inhuman. It's just so. You couldn't recreate it now. I mean, I've only seen a bit of the CGI version of Captain Scarlet. I've seen a bit of it. It looks really good, but
I like it.
Will never be able to, yeah, but they will never. I don't think they can ever top that, the original voice of the Mysterons.
No.
Yeah.
No. I mean, there are some things that are just of their time. They did it different things. We've got more technology these days as well. But you're saying actually one thing that does occur to me that you're saying about the limit of the Mysterons' power.
Uh-huh.
They only ever seem to be able to Mysteronize something once. They could never, they kill someone, or they disorder. They bring them back as a copy.
Mm-hmm.
So we know that the original is still there in whatever form. But once the Mysteron version has been killed or destroyed, they don't seem able. They never go back and bring it back again or anything. They only seem
maybe it's
once.
like the scan and copy, and that's it's not it's more so they basically destroy the original when they're creating it.
Right. This
Actually,
leads to the next item on my list. Go on, Alex. But I've got to.
well, there's one episode where they thought they killed one guy, but apparently they failed.
Yeah.
So, but they thought he was the copy.
Was he by any chance William Riker?
No.
But I'm just saying. I say that because actually, what you're saying, yes, it sounds a little bit like the teleportation. Teleportation destroys you. You know, one argument for teleportation, it destroys you there and it recreates you over there. Whereas we know that they don't destroy. I mean, if it was just with people, you might say, yeah, they kill someone when they Mysteronize them, because I can't say retromotivalization every time. My teeth won't take it. But when they Mysteronize them, they take they take the human quality and destroy that in recreating it in a person. They don't destroy the body. And they don't, and same with machinery. If they take over machinery, they crash a plane or whatever, the wreckage is still there. So the wreckage is still there if they had the ability to go back and Mysteronize it again. But they don't.
Yeah,
they don't ever seem to be able to do that.
Yeah, they don't hide the evidence. That's the problem.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying though. Is that we know it's still there. So it's obviously But as you say, first they must destroy. So obviously they can only copy something once, and presumably, it must be pretty immediate as well.
I think so. They can reverse back them once they reverse. Obviously, it's theirs. I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, and they can't. They once they reverse it, they can't reverse their own matter, and they can't.
Aye, so they can't make multiple copies. They make the one copy with the change, and that is it.
Right. That leads to the next item on the list, Captain Scarlet.
Yeah.
Right, and he is the one who's been like. There was the original Captain Scarlet, like the start of the show. They killed him off in the first episode, then they brought him back. And in the first episode, he's the villain. But then, obviously, there's that face off with Captain Blue. Captain Blue kills him, but he
doesn't. He just shoots him and he falls.
He shoots him and he falls the distance. Yeah. So let's say he killed him because he says they could thing. However, by the fact is, the only damage you see is the elastoplast on his head. Yeah. It implies that head wound basically made them lose control. So maybe the damage to the part of the brain that the loyalty to the Mysterons.
Yeah, I mean, do we ever come to think of it? Do we ever see any other Mysteron agent heal or repair?
No.
What's implied about Captain Scarlet is that he's an example of the Mysteron's ability to reanimate matter, and he's become self-reanimating.
He's almost stuck in a loop, physically, not mentally, but in as much as his body's stuck. If it's damaged, it resets itself. You know, it's not. He's not your typical Mysteron agent.
Well, no, I mean, when he recovers, he has no memory of being a Mysteron. Even he doesn't remember anything after the crash.
Yeah, I mean, it's literally almost at that point he resets to the crash.
Yeah.
And then for some reason he is now able to heal himself of any injury, although no one else seems to. So as you say, it's something weird has happened there. I must admit, I kind of prefer, in a way, I kind of prefer the way they do it in the remake.
Okay.
In the remake, he falls through an energy beam on Skybase, Cloudbase, which basically the way they do it in the new. Oh God, Melvin, yes.
What?
Henry Cavill as Captain Scarlet.
No, that'd be interesting.
Oh, definitely. But what they do in the new one, the way they explain it is basically that he falls through an energy, the energy beam in the reactor, basically. So the way they do it, that one is that basically that energy energizes him, kicks out the Mysteron energy, which is perhaps a slightly better explanation than he fell off a control tower, and that broke the Mysteron control. I think perhaps it's a slightly more satisfying follow-up. But then also, it's an explanation that's made for an audience which is two generations young, which is two generations younger than the audience this was made for. Which is probably more sophisticated because the world.
That's the thing as well. I think it's very sophisticated. If they had actually done this now, then in the Mysterons there wouldn't be any grey areas. The Mysterons would be the first ones to attack and do this and do this and do this and attack and attack.
Yeah,
there would be no ambiguity. Whereas then they actually got it in such a way that people actually went, but wait a minute, the Mysterons actually were the first ones attacked. So when you think about it, yes, they've gone over the top, but are they really that bad? Because they're basically just going for vengeance. That's not saying it was smart enough that they didn't just make it black and white. They didn't actually have Captain Black driving up and then they go, oh, look, there's a city. Boom.
Right, okay. I think there's two things they were trying to go for there. One was show mankind's folly, mankind's ignorance. They kind of comment a bit on mankind's folly, but also an element of, explaining why the Mysterons have decided to attack us now rather than, any time thousands of years before. If they're on Mars, then surely why they are attacking us now? And they say, okay, well, someone started the fight, and it was probably us. It's kind of like, well, this is why they're a threat now, and they've never been a threat before.
Yeah.
And also, I think it's a kind of that small bit. It's like it's a small vignette. It's like it was about a 3-minute sequence, and you can splice that in as a flashback if you need to, and it just gets across how this started.
Yes, but I'm saying is if they made that now, there wouldn't be no grey areas. It would be the Mysterons attacked for no reason, and so they're the bad guys.
If they made it now, mate, your character wouldn't exist. Well, not with that name anyway.
None of the characters' names. There'd be a lot of.
Some of them could. Some of them quite would.
They wouldn't
Colonel
be
White probably couldn't. Captain Black certainly couldn't as the bad guy.
But that's what I'm saying. But the thing is, if they made it, just let's take about the story. The sophistication, they've lost a lot of sophistication in storytelling. So in effect, there wouldn't be that ambiguity that we attack first and they're going for vengeance and they're just going over the top, taking everybody out.
Yeah.
They would actually have it so it would be, oh look, there's a city. What's that point? It is bang.
That's
the thing that you have encroached on our territory. We will get you. We will destroy you all. So it would have been a slight difference, but it would have been the Mysterons who were aggressive and basically just blamed them because you walked onto our port. So we took out the shotgun and we're going to kill everybody.
I would have to say, as with most things, it depends on in whose hands any such remake got made. If you had someone who's actually competent and who could actually do it, but there aren't many people around. Someone remind me, someone who's seen it recently, when they're on Mars, do they have the rock snakes?
No,
that's you're thinking of Thunderbirds.
Oh, I know. I'm thinking of Thunderbirds.
If they had the rock snakes, they would have discovered them.
What I'm saying is that's why I know that Thunderbirds and Captain Scarlet are set in the same universe, because Thunderbirds in the movie rescued Zero X, and Zero X, a subsequent Zero X mission, is what Spectrum are on. But I was just wondering, I honestly couldn't remember if they'd had those in their as well as in Thunderbirds or
Yeah.
not.
And there's also the part that Peter actually said there, Captain Brown, pretty heavy going at the time. Considering this was a kids' program, they mentioned the first episode, they mentioned finding Captain Brown's body, right? So they're already talking about killing, and then Captain Scarlet gets killed, getting shot. Basically, the second episode, they destroy the plane, killing 2 people. You see people getting killed left, right, and centre.
Yeah.
You see Captain Brown exploding. Well, you know what I mean. But
Yeah.
for a kids show, they're killing people off. It's none of this. Oh, they've knocked them out, and no, look, there's the yellow dinghy with the 2 crew popping up.
And the other thing about them doing that, it also ties into the one big difference, big technical change between Captain Scarlet and what had come before it, is that because of the technological developments, up until then, the puppets had been not right sized. Puppet heads had been large, had been out of scale with their bodies.
Yeah.
Because of technology. But the technology was such that with Captain Scarlet, the puppets actually were in the right proportion to be humans. So they looked more they looked more
Action Man like.
Yeah, they looked more Action Man, but they looked, it was, you know, I mean, I highly doubt that most kids watching it would have got why, but they would probably say that there was the Thunderbirds and Stingray and previously didn't look quite as natural and human as the Captain Scarlet ones. So, and then the Captain Scarlet one where
the Thunderbirds, the heads were slightly too big.
Yeah, but you know, with Captain Scarlet,
I had my Action Man. So it must have been about 13 when I first saw it. I wanted a Captain Black and a Captain Scarlet outfit for my Action Man.
Oh yes.
And I never came across any. I have seen them since. I don't have an Action Man anymore. I have seen somebody made the outfits for Captain Scarlet for an Action Man.
Yeah.
But actually, that's a point. I think if there's one maybe difference about how it'd be done now, I think in the aftermath of Captain Scarlet, kind of, you know, when he kind of returns to service and he's just been a Mysteron agent, he's been rehabilitated. You see, like, he works with Captain Blue, and at the end, he kind of in the episode Winged Assassin, he kind of says, "Captain Blue, get out the SPV. I'm going to ram that thing. It's going to kill me. I'll survive it." Now, I think if it was done today, you'd kind of have a bit more done about the whole, can Captain Blue trust Captain Scarlet again? Now that he's really returned.
Yeah, I mean, there was a bit of that, I think, and
I think they would embellish on that a lot more today, definitely.
Yeah, because Colonel White basically says, we're going to take a chance on you. As in, we're not entirely sure, but we're going to trust our guts.
Yeah, I mean, there's also, I think, one other thing that would be, I think, again, in a perfect world where people actually knew what they were doing, Captain Scarlet, because of the settings, Captain Scarlet could quite easily progress to Henry Cavill, a live action, because we've got the CGI technology, or the technology that a lot of the stuff that needed to be enhanced could be enhanced.
Yeah.
But most of it was such that you could, I mean, the futuristic vehicles, so the cars and the rest of it, you could almost certainly have actual vehicles. They had, I believe, an actual working Fab 1 in the movie that shall not be named, but that I've never watched, and I've no intention of ever watching. It's one of those ones.
Look, if they can make one for Logan's Run for the TV show, that vehicle for that, they can make anything.
Yeah.
So they could make this stuff. If they could make a Judge Dredd bike for either of the movies, then they can make something that actually looks the part.
Just imagine. I mean, if they did do it these days, there is one thing they could do one thoroughly and utterly woke thing which absolutely nobody would object to.
What's that?
Right? The Angels.
Yeah.
They would have their top-notch fighter pilots, all women, and nobody would object because we're used to it.
But see, the thing is, we were used to all that before.
Yeah,
People actually
exactly.
forget that it was some female was the original fighter pilot for these.
There is one bit in the episode Big Ben Strikes Again which kind of shows slightly dated attitudes to women. Where
yes,
there's a scene where Captain Scarlet has to drive the truck out of town. Yeah. And there's a car in his way that's broke. The girl can't, the driver can't get it to start, and of course it's a woman driver.
Yeah, move it, you silly girl.
And she's kind of she's trying to start the car, and I'm kind of watching. Captain Scott's got to get out of the way, and then I just shouted at the screen, "Oh, she's a Mysteron shooter!"
I mean, yes, there are, and the beauty again, the beauty of something like that, and the absolute idiocy of certain modern political opinions and views is that we look back on it and we say, yes, those were, and some of us even, at the time it was made, with kids at the time it was made, yes, we can see those attitudes, and yes, we do cringe a little bit, and we think, well, we've changed from that. We've moved on from there.
And that's the thing. Basically, we've moved on from it. So, yes, things of the time. So, wee silly things like that could be ignored, and just the next movie could be some guy who just doesn't know how to actually do anything other than drive a car. There's a whole lot of us. I know how to change a tyre. I know how to check the oil. But there's a certain point where I go,
Well, we were talking. You were saying that, but going back, not quite so far back, but I don't know if anyone else was watching, but last night's Facebook, down on Facebook, we're talking about Knight Rider, and there were two mechanics, stroke people in charge of all that side of things, and both of them are women.
Yeah.
It's not so that it's not something new. We could. There was. Again, I've got a sneaking suspicion that there was an episode of the remake where a bloke, Captain Scarlet, I think, did actually fly an angel, which I thought was.
He did nearly at the end. He did at the last episode, Attack on Cloud Base.
Sacrilege.
Yeah, but wasn't that a dream? I'm not going to scream about giving spoilers for a 50-year-old show.
Yes.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, it was Captain Blues was Destiny's fever dream, wasn't it? But
it was the animated show, and it ain't got strings on this one.
Mm. Yeah, but it was.
It's a different beast. It's a different beast.
It is a different beast, and that's the thing. It's a more modern take on it.
Yeah,
because.
But I'd say the thing is, as I said, I'm like you guys. I am Captain Scarlet is my favourite Jerry Anderson show, even more than Thunderbirds. And I personally. No, that's fine. That's a personal opinion. And as I said, so what I'm saying is my personal opinion. And from that point of view, I actually think that see, the missed ones are attacking me again. Don't want me to say this. But from my point of view, I think the remake was as good as the original, partly because Jenny Anderson's still involved. And it still had its creative input. But yeah, man. But yeah, the thing was, it was the original series, and it was a kids show. It was a young adult mortgage show, I think. But as we said, it was. I mean, the interesting thing I think there is it was absolute massive change from what came before it.
Yeah, but do you know what?
I mean, you've got
favourite...
you got Thunderbird, which is all about people saving lives. You know, and then you've got Captain Scarlet, which is basically a
Eagle.
Favourite show? Favourite Jerry Anderson?
Yeah, but yeah, that's fair enough. I mean, to be quite honest, I also kind of tend to separate the public shows from live action shows. But fair enough. Like I said, we've all got different shows, and again, in part of us, it probably depends on what we grew up watching and so on.
Yeah.
Well, right. We should probably talk about some of the more. Here's something. The episode Avalanche.
Yeah,
it's interesting. That's where we see kind of Colonel White's kind of take on the Mysteron threat, because you got Colonel White dealing with the kind of there's those kind of polar bases, and they're headed by this kind of military general, and they come under attack by the Mysterons, and they wipe out an entire military base in one go, and it's just like 100 men dead instantly. And the general saying, right, we have to retaliate. We have to send the missiles Mars' way, you know, because and Colonel White saying, no, you can't do that. That's just going to be, and you know, it's interesting because Colonel White he knows the Mysterons are a threat, but he also kind of knows that you don't quite understand the Mysterons.
Yeah,
we don't know what we're dealing with here. Like if we've bombed them before, and they just reform themselves. So
he's an intelligent leader.
Yeah.
Well, actually on my rewatch, which it was years ago, I saw it. I'm on the rewatch, so I'm not that far ahead. I'll need to remember all these.
Right, it's the episode where there's this. The Mysterons basically take control of this truck that's kind of doing deliveries to each of these polar bases, these kind of dome polar bases. Yeah. And each time it goes in there, basically it wipes out the oxygen supply. So Captain Scarlet and Lieutenant Green, and my avatar is basically a picture of Lieutenant Green when he's exploring this place. He's got the oxygen mask on, and he's looking at surveying the carnage, and like it's just hundreds of men dead. I mean, that was just a haunting image. And so basically, Captain Scarlet's like, I've got to stop the Mysterons, not just because, you know, they're going to kill another bunch of 100 people, but also if they do that, that military general is going to say, right, I've had enough. I'm going to launch the missiles at Mars, and there's going to be it's no longer going to be this kind of Cold War of nerve anymore. It's going to be full out war. And Colonel White's like, we don't understand the Mysterons enough to fight them yet. And that's say we don't know if there's a way of winning such a war.
How long would it take the missiles to get to Mars? That's the question.
Yeah.
Well, I guess so.
Well, I would say the other thing that occurs to me also is the influences we've got these days. I mean, how many people can honestly say they watched Captain America's Civil War and didn't go cloud base?
Yeah.
I mean, they were the same blinking things. You know, I mean, it's such an iconic. I mean, I always used to feel sorry though for the Angels because there was always one poor girl spent her entire shift sat in the bloody paint.
She had a magazine to read. Or
no.
Music.
Eddie Rutten, Angels 2 and 3 had magazines. Angel 1 was sitting in her seat, buckled up in the plane, ready for literal immediate launch.
Yeah, but she must have had a magazine to read in the side or something.
Never saw anything.
No, because you
know, I mean, so you got 5 of these girls. They're always on
nails, you know.
Yeah.
If it was Symphony Angel left behind, she'd probably spend the intervening time making out with Captain Blue.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, I wonder what they were. They the dirty swines.
Well, that's again. I mean, again.
You call it making out. The Mysterons said they were fine.
Yes, Peter the Valiant. Yes, the Valiant in Doctor Who. Yes, indeed, the unit base. Same thing.
Because Russell's a hack.
The thing is, though, shall we say? I mean, we're talking about the puppet series here, but there were some slightly more adult, and I don't mean that as in the Triple X adult, but slightly more grown up aspects. They made a few changes to relationships, more realistic relationships in the remake.
I know.
But there were one or two things which were actually very well done. I don't think there's anything wrong with them, but yeah, exactly. As you said, I mean, simply probably spent half the time making out with Captain Blue. You never know on these things.
So what was Captain Scarlet up to?
Well, there was that chick on the moon base. She seemed interested.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I know what happened there.
Yeah. The basically a 3-part storyline. That one was on the moon base.
Yes,
effectively a 3-parter. Mm-hmm. But it's. I mean, it was. I think again, it was a really interesting show. I mean, it was one of my favourite. It's definitely my favourite puppet show, and that may not necessarily be saying a lot, but in the 60s there were a lot of kids puppet shows.
Oh, there was.
Jerry Anderson and others.
Yeah,
that leads to my. On PJ.
Sorry, on you go. Sorry, I interrupted you there.
No, I was going to say this is going to lead to my next point about the advantages of it being a puppet show. What was it that? It was done as a puppet show for good reason, and it kind of there were a lot of advantages to doing it that way. Now, what I've written here is, basically, the heroes, they are resilient, they are stoic. The fact that they're puppets, of course, adds to that. But there's a kind of a meta thing there because, the Mysterons are basically puppeteering their agent. So it's almost kind of commenting on the way that if you kind of, create this puppet show, you are kind of God here. And it's like, this is what happens when the Mysterons become God.
Yeah, because anybody takes over the puppet and suddenly goes, and that's it. It's basically there's you've got Captain Scarlet actually doing a tap dance.
Yeah, but it's much more chilling. Like you got the kind of, I mean, when the Mysterons take over, that craft in Winged Assassin, it's like it's chilling. You got this kind of this sense, the sense that the craft is now sentient. It's kind of got this malevolent intelligence controlling it. I think you can do a lot more, and we see this in the show, a lot more world building. You kind of, design the whole of, so you get real feel of 1960s chic London.
Yeah.
And, you get to see the characters on downtime when they're at restaurants together and just, there's that kind of, and I think you need that. I think you need a kind of that sense of the vibrancy of 1960s life, in the, against the backdrop of, all this death and destruction. You need the lighter side, and that's a lovely kind of.
See, when you were mentioning about the plane being sentient, I didn't realise. So when they downed the plane and killed the 2 pilots, did they not actually bring the pilots back?
No, they killed everybody on board, PJ.
I know, but did they not bring the pilots back?
No.
So it was just the craft. But see, the thing is, I wouldn't have said it was sentient. It was just controlled by them. Then.
No, but it was an intelligent being controlling the craft. It wasn't,
telepresence.
It wasn't an AI.
Well,
it's just that's the one I'm on. So obviously, I've seen the plane go down. And I see them tracking it coming in. I just assumed they destroyed the plane and the 2 pilots, and they reconditioned the plane and the 2 pilots.
No, they don't. Entire plane.
Plane's empty.
Because I'm halfway through that episode, so that's why I'm saying that. I was asking.
You will see in the next scene the controls of the plane. The gear stick and all that. They're all being operated invisibly. Like it's the.
But they've done that before. Remember.
Yeah, Spectrum helicopter in the first episode.
Yep, the very first episode.
Same thing.
Yeah. See, I see again. I wouldn't have seen that was intelligent. That was just actually controlled remotely. So that's all I'm saying. It's just because obviously I got halfway through that. I just assumed when they downed the plane, they brought the pilot's
Yeah.
bag as
You're
well.
not going to see Captain Black with a remote control device.
Mm.
Trying to fly it.
Well, again, that's another thing, because you've got an interesting question there. It brings an interesting question to going back to what PJ said earlier on about the missiles shooting to Mars. Depending upon the time of year, Mars is at the very least several seconds to minutes light speed away from us. Where are they controlling from, and are they actually got? Are they actually able to control something in real time on Earth from Mars?
Right. Can I
without
just
bothering with
make an explanation about the Mysterons?
Yeah, please. Yeah,
Right.
I'm just genuinely asking.
It's been stated that the Mysterons don't really belong to this universe. Right? They just set it up on Mars. They're not actually from Mars.
I know they're not from Mars, yeah.
Yeah, they just set up, but they're not originally from this
See the
universe.
chances of anything coming from Mars and 1,000,000 to 1.
So the thing is, they don't need like flying saucers or anything like this. And also, where they're using Captain Black, he's like their relay to transfer Mysterons to Earth.
Yeah, I mean, she's telling me he does literally say relay instructions from the Mysterons. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Though, it makes you wonder. Is again, if you're bearing in mind scientific realities, whatever they're doing, if they are controlling it from Mars, then are they doing it in real time, or have they got, as you said, some sort of in and outside the universe presence, or have they got a presence somewhere in orbit?
Well, see, that's why I think it's the machine is alive. It's a Mysteron life form.
Yeah, they put something. Yeah, I see. I think that makes a bit more sense that they've actually literally managed to put something. I mean, especially if they are some sort of non-corp. That's the word I was called, non-corporeal life.
Corporeal.
Yeah.
Right. I've got some more notes, by the way, I've written. Also, I think a beauty of like the fact that it's all puppeteering is you got to be there's a delicacy to that. There's a craft to it, and you got to kind of get the shot right. You got to get the movement right, and I think when you kind of put the effort into making that shot right, it becomes a lot more memorable.
Yeah,
like
it's definitely no Team America.
But yeah, but and it's like for instance, in the episode "Seek and Destroy," that's the one where you got the rogue angels craft, right? You've got that kind of the angels, the rogue angels are trying to take each other out, and it's like they're trying to get the shot perfect. So it's not just a typical action scene. It's it's memorable because they've got to. Yeah. It's got to be on target. It's like you got to get the shot, just like you got to make the perfect kill. And it's a craft. The focus, the skill, and the timing makes it a lot more memorable. And it's like you could watch any action film and just, within a few minutes you've forgotten what you've seen. Whereas in this, that's memorable. You remember it because it's like it captures the moment. I think that's what makes it.
Yeah, and again, something again is it also, because they're puppets. That also explains, get some of the shots, for example, why they always had moving walkways. Why part of the reason why whenever they were in an SPV being pursued, the door opened backwards, because they couldn't work out how to get the puppets to actually get in and out of cars. They couldn't get the puppets to walk properly. So you very rarely see a full-length puppet actually walking. As I say, that's why you've got they're in vehicles or they're behind a desk or whatever. Again, shots because of limitations there. And interesting, if you think about that, the weird thing with the SPVs is they're driving them backwards.
Yeah, I always found that weird as hell.
Yeah, it is. It's very weird. But the thing is that you look at trains, even some aircraft. If you're facing away from the direction of travel and you have a crash, you've got a lot better survivability for your spine because you're not being knocked forward. So, from a crash safety point of view, that
Yeah, but I
quite
still
an
would
avoidance.
actually want.
But yeah,
to
it's weird that you've got
drive.
to. Yeah, you've lost as a driver. I can tell you, you've actually lost the feel. Yeah, they've obviously the controls have obviously got to be reversed, and in some ways the image you're looking at has got to be reversed. So when you turn left rather than turn right.
Yeah.
Well, yeah,
So they had TV screens on there.
Yeah,
but that's. I must say, when I watched that last time, I kind of thought, well, because Captain Blue, he'd been in this. He went from the red car, which is kind of facing forward, to the SPV where he's facing backward. I'm thinking, well, wouldn't it be better just to have him consistently in the SPV,
Right across
so he's always
the-
facing backwards?
Yeah.
Because then it's like
across
it's like you get used to one, and then you kind of struggle to get used to the other.
yeah, I would have made you see it.
Well, actually, no. As a biker as well, I could come from a car straight onto a bike and not worry about how I was driving it, because I could drive both just as easy. So when I came off the bike, I didn't actually struggle and go, I didn't try and press anything to change gear because I was in a car. It was a different gear system.
But exactly, it's a different. I mean, some of the I always wonder about race car drivers, Formula One in particular.
Yeah, because their gear stick is on their wheel. They just
No, not so much that, but the speed they use for driving in a race. Does that mean when they're driving most of the time their reactions are too quick? They're going to react as if they're going up 200 miles an hour rather than 60. Mm-hmm. Something I've always wondered. I don't know.
But it's also the same as you think about it. If they're spending their time in a car cramped and all they do in their left hand to go down a gear, they just tap it, right hand to tap it to go up a gear. So that's how they're going up and down gears by a wee button or a lever inside as part of the steering wheel. You imagine them coming out of a car, they don't automatically just sit there and drive and go, They do it. It's because, I suppose it's because I've ridden a bike for years and I've driven for years. I can step out of one straight into the other and not what do I do?
It's a completely different setup.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So I think that's like me. But I always wondered why they did it like that. It just seemed weird. It was almost done to be a novelty and no other reason.
Well, the only thing seems to be that they can stop, and if anybody gets out, if anybody's behind them, they're not going to expect you to come out and be facing so you can shoot them. If you're in front, it confuses anybody that's any baddies that's ambushing them.
See, I don't know. Did Scarlet ever drive the SPV?
Yes. He was in that episode you're watching, Winged Assassin. Toward the end, he takes control of the SPV.
Right.
So he decides to do a suicide run at the.
It's just obviously because as Peter was saying, is it not a way for kids watching to associate one vehicle with the hero? So he was always driving the red car, so you associated that with him, even though other people drove a red car, but he was the one every time you saw it. And if he was never in the SPV, but if he was driving it, then that takes that out. Even though if he only drove it once, you can't actually. It's the same as the Angels. You can't imagine the Angels driving any car because they have to be in the plane.
Yeah.
And you can't imagine any of the Spectrum agents flying who are not an Angel.
Although we've seen them, again, one of my other bugbears with some things as with Space Above and Beyond. They all seem to be able to fly helicopters and at the very least transport planes that you see, but you're talking about the SPV. I mean, the SPVs in particular is another bit of a throwback to Thunderbirds, where you got the secret agents. Not necessarily vehicles, because they go up and come flash ID and SPV such and such, and the caravan splits open, somebody
takes out their purse, opens it, and there's an SPV.
Yeah, or the back of a tank, or similar to the sort of the network of secret agents that International Rescue seem to have for no obvious reason.
Okay.
The one thing I did like about it is, as you were saying about, they always had the moving stairways, or the walkways, so you never saw them walking. Was when they went into a lift, they didn't do them just go into the lift. They would go into the lift and sort of turn as if they were turning to each other. Because you saw that with Captain Brown at the beginning when he's going into the building. You see it going along on the thing, and then as he gets into the lift, it turns as if they're in the lift, they're turning to talk to each other. Yeah. And I thought that was quite a nice wee bit. So it's not just a case of you see them going through the door and the door's shut. You see them going through the door and they slightly turn towards each other as if they're having a chat in their way down. I thought things like that were actually thought out quite well.
Right. Okay, next bit. We're approaching, getting closer to the end of this. Would anyone care to list some of their favourite episodes?
Well, anybody that doesn't say Big Bang Strikes 13 can go away now.
I can't actually say that because, as I said, I've just started rewatching them this year, so I can't remember specific episodes.
Yeah, I must admit, I know. Yeah, Big Bang Strikes 13 and the part about the only two that I think I actually specifically remember because of the particular gimmick that they've got there.
Big Ben Strikes Again. Yeah, that was.
I actually like the first episode. I think the first episode sets it up very well. The pilot is basically, I think that is definitely one of my favourites because I think probably seeing it again after all the time and forgetting about how it all started. I like the first episode because it does a good job of setting the world, the battle between the two, and how it started and what their end goals are. So I think the first episode's a good one to actually, it would put on my top list.
Right.
I also like what the other thing I think is quite interesting is the way the cleverness of the Mysterons give the clues, but you then see Colonel White and Captain Scarlet trying to work out, but what does it mean? Trying to actually work out what the cryptic clue means.
I'd say the best one for that was probably City of Angels. Yeah, that was like the Mysterons was threatening, we're going to destroy the place of the angels, and at first, like the angels are kind of thinking, well, what's the place of the angels? What does that mean to us? I don't know what that means, and it's like the Mysterons have almost kind of left them that just to kind of trick them to think it's related to the angels. It's like, and then Scarlet figures out, no, it's Los Angeles. That's the place of the angels, and so yeah,
there'd be no love today if they actually destroyed Los Angeles.
Throwing a firecracker in a crapper.
Yeah, that's an okay. Fine, go ahead.
Yeah, but they've not used that before, the City of Angels to Los Angeles, in some other programs.
Oh, I think so. Yeah, I mean, let's be honest. Los Angeles translates into English as the Angels, literally, like Spanish, literally for the Angels. So yeah, but the thing is, because it's a clever. I'm not necessarily pun per se, but trick in this one because, of course, you've got 5 angels, and each of those could have a city that they come from. You know, it's a clever one with the within the setting.
Okay, my two big favorites are Avalanche and Seek and Destroy. Now, Avalanche, that's like, I remember being, must have been 12 when that was on, and it was just like, just the scenes of Captain Scarlet and Lieutenant Green. I mean, it was great to see them team up in these polar bases and like they're surrounded by all these corpses. It was just that was chilling, and it was just, and the snow setting. I love the snow setting as well. It was very well done. It was very kind of atmospheric. It was like that's one episode I'll never forget. And so that's just kind of that's a big one. The other one was Seek and Destroy, and that became a favorite later. That was kind of like I watched it on the reruns, and I just love again the dog fights, the way it was, the perfect timing between, and I love the way that it was the kind of the idea of the angels kind of they were a team looking out for each other, it's like because Destiny Angel was there and the kind of ducking down and she was the target, and but it was her sisters, shall we say, were kind of fighting in the skies to protect us, which was I thought was really that was quite cool.
Well, the other thing is again, there's one or two of those ones where Captain Scarlet, you get someone says, but you've lost your man, he gave his life, and Colonel Wing says, yeah, but he'll be back tomorrow. Or something, he'll get over it, he's dead, but he'll get over it.
It's the episode where Colonel White says, right, I'm going to court-martial you, Captain Scarlet, and I extended you to death, but since you're indestructible, that means nothing.
But no, he's done it. There's been a couple of other times, when another character sort of mentioned on Scarlet being killed, or apparently being killed, or seriously injured or something. And of course, Colonel White knows damn well that no, he'll be back again for the next episode.
Well, there was a scene like that in White as Snow, where it's at the end when Captain Scarlet has done the self-sacrifice and he's dead, and Colonel White's like ranting up, like, "How dare he lock me in my room and all this?" And it's like, look, the guy's dead. It's like no excuse.
Yes. Oh yeah, and it's so cleverly. It's very cleverly done. Some of those things. And I must admit, I really have got to check out. I genuinely don't know, because of course there aren't many recordings. Most of the recordings you see are recordings from DVDs, not TV. I honestly don't know if ITV really did end each episode with Captain Scarlet is indestructible. You are not. Remember this and do not try to imitate him. I honestly don't know if they ever actually said that or if that's an urban legend. I really hope they did.
Ever hearing it, I must admit, but
no, I can't.
Could have actually in the repeat later on when kids were actually they did it after Power Rangers and stuff like that.
Oh, right, maybe I don't know.
It could have been when they did a repeat at that time, and if it was on, they would do that. But because it was a puppet and stuff like that, I doubt it.
Yeah, I want to do something right. Only a fool would imitate this puppet show, but there's one born every minute.
Yes. Every time you make something foolproof, the world makes a bigger and better fool.
Yes.
Right.
Oh, I came across a channel. Can I bounce this up? Let's see if I can find it. Let's see. Believe it or not, there's only 2 videos on it, and there's only a couple of subs on it. Right, but the reason I found it is it was a while back. I was looking up the Mysterons. There it's there. This is just his intro. And I don't know if I did the sound there, so I'll need to stop that and actually represent it. I think I shared the sound. This is his intro.
This is the voice of the Mysteron.
That voice is not.
I
know it's a Mysteron as well.
Been monitoring your broadcast for the last 9 decades. We come to Earth to make contact with the aliens.
That sounds like you, PJ.
I know, that's why I got it. It sounded like me. I was trying to actually think me because I came across that.
On the brink of
it's got 2 videos on it. That's it. And I was actually, and that's when, because I was listening to my wife says, "Is that you?" It's definitely a Scotsman. I can tell that much. You can tell by the sound.
Kelly needs to leave. Take care, Kelly. Take care.
Yeah, but basically, it's things like the voice of the Mysteron was the first thing I noticed. There was no S in there, and I was sitting there going, It's Mysterons. It's Mysterons.
Yeah.
But there's that, you can see it's two videos, and they're along the same line, and mispronunciations of certain things. So I can understand why it's only got two subs.
Another episode I'm very fond of is Manhunt. That's one I remember. That was one of the first I watched all the way through. I remember that one. Now, there's one last thing to cover, which is how the show ended. Because it ends, well, when it was repeated in the 90s, I think they just ended it on Attack on Cloud Base. Now, and that kind of, it was almost, it felt like it was going to be the finale, and then it wasn't, because it turned out...
It was the finale, actually.
What was that? So I thought the actual finale was the...
Yeah, they just added it because they always put in clip shows at the end of the programs.
All right, okay.
I'll say because Attack on Cloud Base is showing 31, 32 is the Inquisition on IMDb.
Yeah. Because I appreciated... Sorry.
You're doing the same as me, so what? I'm yawning as well because it's been a long day.
I'll wrap this up soon. But I do remember when they repeated it, I don't think they did the Inquisition. I think they did Attack on Cloud Base, and that was the end of the series.
Oh, right.
And that felt like it was going to be the end of the show. Now I did do me and a friend did we watched that on Facebook. Like we were talking on Facebook because we streamed the episode together simultaneously. And when it got to the bit where, like, because you got the Attack on Cloud Base, you got one of the angels dies, then you got Captain Blue and Captain Scarlet, and it's like it's all going to hell. And then I got this message from him saying, "Oh, fuck this, rage quit." And it's like, I'm giving up on this now. It was like, because it's like, it turned out it was all a dream. And he was like fuming about that. I thought, what a waste kind of thing. And
you sure it wasn't Bobby from Dallas?
I was about to say, then again, if it had actually been one of the angels stepping out of the shower.
Yeah.
You kidding? With the smelling.
You dirty swine.
If you put wood in water, it just swells up. So there's just been a block of wood coming out.
It wasn't wood.
Puppets are usually this
Fiberglass.
Traditionally, it's usually I know, but traditionally it's made out of a balsa wood.
Now, perhaps Alex, you can tell me about how was the show? Was Janna Anderson intending to just end it that way, or did he have planned to carry the series on?
No, because the problem is that Lou Gray's wanted another TV program, so that's the way they had to end it. Okay. If Captain Scarlet went on for a second series, then yeah, but it was something to do with selling it to the networks in America. Don't forget, Captain Scarlet had a big, huge mountain to follow from Thunderbirds.
Yeah.
So with Thunderbirds ending and Captain Scarlet coming in, it was, how we're going to do this. So they had to upgrade, take a step up, really, improve it, make it better.
And I think they did. Well, maybe not with this story, because aimed at kids, I think Thunderbirds was a better one.
Yeah.
Because it didn't have a lot of the deeper aspects of it, people getting killed and stuff like that. So for kids, I think Thunderbirds were better. But for the way it was made, I think Captain Scarlet is superior, because as Colin was saying about the head sizes and stuff like that, it brought everything down to be more human looking.
Yeah.
So it was more interesting. The costumes were
Yeah, but in the making, the puppeteer said it was a bloody pain in the arse to.
You can imagine, but that's like turning around and an actor saying, "Oh well, I didn't actually like being the Predator because putting that costume on all the time, or I didn't like being a Narn on Babylon 5 because see that putting that makeup on all the time, it was a pain in the ass." That's just part and parcel of the job. It might be a pain in the ass, but that's the medium they're working in, so they chose the job. But what I'm saying is, the way it was done, the quality is to me far superior. The clothing on Captain Scarlet's uniform, all their uniforms were to me looked better than with the Thunderbirds. They did look as if they were just somebody had just fired up a couple of overalls and just put a belt around it. Do you know what I mean? They looked like a pair of dungarees or overalls that they were wearing.
I think it was also the last show made at the Sterling Road Studios. I think they moved studios again after this.
No, they didn't.
You think about
what else? They did the 90th Sterling Road as well.
Yeah.
Alec,
yes.
Could you imagine yourself wearing a Thunderbirds outfit to a Comic-Con?
Yes.
Without it being cartoonish, how would it look standing next to someone wearing a Captain Scarlet one? It would look kid-like. True.
It depends, really, because the thing is that some cosplayers adapt now.
Yes, but if you take your basically Thunderbirds outfit, and a Captain Scarlet, we're not talking about. That's what I'm saying. If you just increase the size of them so fit, so you're wearing a Thunderbirds one, then the next, and you've got your identical clone is wearing a Captain Scarlet one. What one do you think would look coolest? That's what I'm saying about how it looked better, because the Thunderbird one, for what it is a superb costume. So yes, if I was getting a Thunderbird figure, I would go for the not the animated, the marionette figure look and the costume, because to me that is Thunderbirds. I wouldn't want anything it's tailored and they've changed it to make it look more modern. No, I would want that. It's the same as the Captain Scarlet, but I think the Captain Scarlet whole outfits just looked, I suppose, more modern, more futuristic for what they were, and they look smart. Because I can imagine getting an Action Man in an outfit like that. Whereas if somebody got my Action Man a Thunderbirds outfit, I would have had it maybe sitting on the shelf. Great. But it wouldn't be an Action Man I would take out to play with my pals. I would have the Action Man that was dressed like Captain Scarlet. Or Ace Rimmer. No, Ace. Arnold Rimmer.
Oh, you like
Captain Scarlet outfit.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, to go back to the how it ends, I mean, would it have been better, do you think, if they'd ended Captain Scarlet properly with a final showdown with the Mysterons?
Yes.
Yeah.
No, actually, no. I would like it to have had a final episode properly, but I don't think they could ever do a final showdown with the Mysterons. They could actually have had maybe like Captain Colonel White being taken by the Mysterons, but not to be changed, but taken, and they probe his mind and they realise that it was a mistake because of this, and this is not how all humans are, and they realise that they're probably wrong. I would have liked something like that, so the Mysterons could still be mysterious, and if you wanted to bring them in for any of your other shows, no problem. However, you don't want to answer that. You don't want to answer certain questions. Ones like who are the Mysterons, or who is Doctor Who, and what's his real name. Yeah, I mean, there's certain things you don't want answered. I don't think.
I know what the Doctor's real name is now.
Bob.
John Shaft.
Bob.
Sorry, that picture of shooters. No, actually, no, I agree with you, Pete. I mean, the thing is, I would say there's another reason why you don't want why it wouldn't be better to end it. And that's because when these shows were made in the 60s and the 70s, they were actually made for entertainment, and they were made for kids to play in the playground. They were made for you to carry on with. And it would be a stream if I didn't do my obligatory. They really, really, really should start sponsoring me for Big Finish, because Big Finish have done some Captain Scarlet. The recent ones have been Jerry Anderson album stories, annual stories, and the rest of it. And they're good. I mean, they are. Some of them are. I think they did some stuff. I think which was new, but a lot of it was made. Was from the 60s albums from the 60s and the rest of it. And you've got these things. They lead themselves to spin off. And you've also got. I mean, the other thing is almost unconsciously. Especially if you sort of go to the slightly more, I suppose, extended universe might be the right phrase for it. For stuff that was in the annuals and the rest of it, and was also brought out a little bit more in the remake. You've got the Jerry. I said you've got there is. The obvious connection with Thunderbirds is Zero X, but also, and in the backstories to some of the, at least one of the characters is ex-World Aquanaut Security Patrol. Mm-hmm. So, yep, Stingray's in the same universe. So you could have ties in for those as well. So it was almost unconscious, sort of the first multi-world. What's the word I'm looking for? Not multiverse, universe, wasn't it? It was almost first Jerry Anderson. You could have a Jerry Anderson universe. I mean, maybe 20 years down the line, it turns out that actually the Mysterons were a return of the aliens from UFO. Yeah.
I mean, for me, to answer my own question, I feel like it's undecided, because for me, I wanted it to end properly. I wanted it to end with a proper resolution. I kind of did feel a bit shortchanged of an ending to the show after all those weeks of seeing the fight go on, that it doesn't really end. But it's kind of, it's just kind of become the new normal for these people, that they're always going to be at war. There's, Mysteron's always going to be a threat. Spectrum's always going to be fighting the good fight. But I mean, I'm still kind of undecided. But I think in some ways, the fact it doesn't end means that, in a way, you can look back on it, and it does have rewatch value, because you're thinking they never fully resolved this. There's still that tension to it all. There was no happy ending to it, where this, where the Mysteron stopped being a threat. They're a kind of a perpetual threat, and that kind of means that it does reward rewatches. It still has that tension in.
So there's no ending, so you don't know at the end of it what the Stingrays, the Mysterons are just 3 foot high aliens running about going, that's you do we tell you, but right, sorry, we forgot to put our modulator on. This is the voice, and I mean, you don't want to see whatever they would have come up with, because as soon as you go back and start watching it, you already know the Mysterons aren't mysterious anymore. You can rewatch it because they're still mysterious, so you've not got that at the end. I quite think you're right there, Sadako, that you needed that the mysterious aspect of it, so you could rewatch it and enjoy it.
As with Doctor Who, the hints in the title, Captain Scarlet and the Mysterons. Well, like you said, I mean, but that interestingly, there's some interesting trivia off of good old IMDb here, is that the way they did the voice of the Mysterons, Donald Gray read his lines as his at normal speed, while the tape recorder was accelerated. The tape recorder was played back at normal speed, which makes it sound sound so different?
So why that's why it sounds so unearthly.
Yeah. And in all to answer my earlier question, a newly formed international intelligence and anti-terrorist organisation, Spectrum, whose agents for colours sends one of the top agents. Which one? There's always one really, really, really picky that I have about Captain Scarlet. Leading the fight, one agent. His name, Captain Scarlet. No, his name is not Captain Scarlet. His name is Paul Metcalf. His code name is Captain Scarlet. Because there's something very rarely done, of course, that all of the agents are. We actually get real names for most of the proper names for most of the agents as well.
But the thing is, even as we all knew that was basically they were all code names.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It wasn't supposed to be anything else. It's just there's talk over the thing, leading the fight. His name, Captain Scarlet. Well, technically no, but like I said, that's just major pedantic here.
But then again, you would basically, and you think James Bond. James Bond, I've always said, is a code name. Hence the reason why it allows you to have different actors playing him, so you can have different agents. You would say James Bond spearheads the attack on foreign spies. You wouldn't actually say it's Joe Bloggs and that's his code name.
Yeah, but you've got to sort of the James Bond. James Bond, I think it's a special case, not least of which is because it's obviously different from the books. In the books, it's clearly the same guy, but James Bond is the one I think where my suspension of disbelief says, okay, yes, this is the same character, it's just different actors. But
there's another one.
Different ways of taking these things, isn't it?
There's another one, right? The leaks from the government offices were from the cigar smoking man. So you go, somebody's code name, basically telling you that. And I'm not going to say are from John McDonald down the road.
Yeah,
I wonder why he got arrested. It's that type of thing. It's the code name. It protects the identity of the family. So I'm okay with them actually saying led by captains whose named is. Captain.
I said. I know I'm being extremely pedantic because everybody called him Captain Scarlet.
Yeah, I don't have an issue with pedantic. I'm pedantic.
I haven't got a real problem with it. I say it's my pedantic little brain that.
I do the same. I do the same, but yeah.
Well, I mean, when I said the mystery is important, maintains the mystery, but also I like the fact that it has the Mysterons at the end still undefeated, because it's kind of suggesting, despite everything, the Mysterons are still out there.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Watching our every move.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it actually works better with the Mysteron never being resolved, because, as you said, you could watch any of the episodes out of sequence, and you can watch any of the episodes out of sequence, and it wouldn't actually destroy it.
No, one of it, obviously, but yeah. No, it wouldn't.
You look at some programs; they're designed as episodic. So yes, you could watch the fourth episode, then the second episode. You're not going to turn around and go, "What are you talking about? I missed that. There's something missing." It's that type of thing. So yes, the story has got a linear thing, but it doesn't actually mean that if you watch it out of sequence, you're going to not enjoy it. You might miss certain things, but you can still watch individual episodes and still enjoy it without having to. It stops, and then you're going, "Oh, I need to watch it next week," or "I missed last week, so I can't." That didn't make sense. You get the occasional things that are 2 episodes here and there, but a good show, if it's designed to be episodic, you don't want it to have something, even if it's actually got an arc across it. You don't want it to have an arc that means that you can't watch an episode.
It's a series, not a serial.
Yeah. So that's the way I look at it, and I think it works for that, and it is definitely one of my favourites. So it is.
Okay, round table time.
Yep.
Just to wrap up.
So,
Okay.
what have you got on coming up yourself? Before we go,
Me.
yes.
I currently nothing. I've got maybe a few things in the. I might have something in the works, possibly. I might be doing a video series of Doctor Who reviews, maybe. But like, that's going to be it's a long work in progress.
If it's classic, give me a shout. If it's classic, give me a shout.
Might do, yeah. But it'll be just be my own videos. I'm not really.
Yes. Even if it's just to actually be in the chat, give us a shout just so we know where they are, when they are.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, I've never hosted stream before. This is probably the first stream I've chaired. I think I did quite well, all
It
considered.
did very well. Actually,
You've done very well.
actually, around you, you did extremely well. Because as Wen said, she might have to have come over and slapped us because we can go a wee bit hard on certain things. And yes, some of us can be a wee bit pedantic, as Colin says, about the way we were going down around things. But
Peter,
that's the fun of it. And you managed to actually drain us back in.
Well,
Yes, there should be an Anderson channel for 4 hours every day. I quite agree with that one.
Right. I think Mr. AWK or something. Alex, you got something to announce?
yeah, FFSI is moving to Mondays. Our first show will be on March the 6th.
Cool.
And it'll just be a two-hander of me and Colin talking about any old things going on in the world.
So we're not invited then?
Well, yeah, I'd just like to start it off with me and Colin, and then
Fair enough. Okay.
later on.
All right.
But PJ doesn't know this, and Wendy, I hope you are listening. But here is for April, for Wednesday night, if it's okay with PJ. Here is a music clue to the next Jerry Anderson subject we'll be talking about.
Well, you saw what I bought my pick of the week last week. I got UFO the box set, the full thing. I'll be looking forward to that one. Hey, stop it in case we get
So,
the channel.
That'll be in April, once we've arranged a date. Wendy, get your purple wig. So
We've got to see it live.
yeah. So that's it. This has been a fantastic stream, broadcasting on 2 channels tonight.
Yes, it has. And next week on my channel is going to be 2001: A Space Odyssey. Wednesday here on my channel. The link for Alex, the Mr. AWK's channel, FFSI, is in my description. I'm sure the link to my channel is in FFSI's description. But we don't know.
No, we just put you on the link on there anyway. So.
Right.
So, what you've done is you linked to Jerry Anderson's channel.
Yeah.
I meant to put it in the. I've now put it in the comments as well. I meant to put it in the chat.
The Anderson channel, yep. So, join us on Saturday as well for Let's Talk Geeky with the crew. Myself, Alec, Colin, Roman, Wend, and guest stars whenever they're available. Sadako knows he's got an invitation anytime.
I'll try.
No, you're not a problem. And I've got a couple of I've got a wee announcement on Let's Talk Geeky on Saturday, so stay tuned for that. So this time next week, 2001: A Space Odyssey. That's what we're going to review.
I'm sorry, Dave, but I can't do that.
Well, it's better than he's dead, Dave.
Yeah.
we did. We're dead, Dave, didn't we, Sadaki? We did all our Red War stuff.
Yeah, we did.
Or, of course, the Captain Scarlet version, it's worse than that. He's dead, Jim. It's okay. He'll be back next week.
Sorry, I didn't realise we were talking about Star Trek. So, Sadako, thank you very much for hosting us and keeping us, I would say keeping us in check, but at least trying.
Yeah, I did my best.
Yeah.
Jack Daniels is my friend in that.
Yeah. A good gentleman, Jack.
So I'm like, it's WKD, cheap alcohol pops more.
I brought my own brew. So thank you, one and all. So, Sadaki, you want to say our goodbyes and bring us to a close?
Oh, yes. Well, thank you all in the chat for watching the stream, tuning in, sticking with us. Thank you very much, Pentology. Thanks. It's my first go at hosting these, well, sharing these.
I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, okay, guys.
We hope you've enjoyed our stream.
Okay. Yep.
And watch the skies.
Unfortunately, as you're okay, guys, everything's fine as long as Spectrum is green.
And also, be careful. They're out there.
We'll never be rid of those buggers.
Two air misses.
Good night. Good night,
night.
everybody.
Good night, all.
Everyone,
Take care.
sweet dreams.
Remember, Captain Black is watching.